Well, so here I am messing with this thing again. Determined that it needs a new battery, but unfortunately, this thing is not worth piecing back together. There's just too much wrong with it. The amount of money that it would cost me, just in parts alone, far exceeds the value of this thing. I know right now it needs a new steering rack. It definitely needs a hood, but that's not an entire deal breaker. This tire has now completely lost the bead around the wheel. The deck is screwed up. Nobody's going to want it in this condition. It's definitely seeing better days. The rear tires are still okay, but I actually had to buy a new battery for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and stick it in this one, and hopefully we can get this motor going. But yeah, this thing is it's just too screwed up. The whole console here is not even attached to the body anymore. The only thing that's keeping it attached now is the actual steering column that goes to the gearbox for the steering rack. Alright guys, so a little bit of denial and error, as Ricky from Trailer Park Boys would say. I did end up bypassing the seat switch on this thing just to help troubleshoot it, but it's got a brand new battery in it, for the time being anyways. Let's see if we can get that to sit down a little bit. So, been troubleshooting this thing off camera. My quest to get you guys good videos with at least halfway decent results. I wanted to make sure that I could get this thing at least functioning as possible, as intended I should say. So it looks like we have a sticky starter situation on this thing. Now before I bypassed the switch and made sure this switch was working, both of those appear to be, by the way, I stuck the new battery in it, nothing, just whined. So I took a long screwdriver, bypassed the terminals, and made contact with both of them in there on the starting relay, and it would just spark. So I know the relay is good because every time I turn the key I could hear it pop and tick like it should. So that didn't get anything to start. So after that I went and looked at the switches. Everything seems fine on that end. So I just got a hammer, tapped the starter a little bit after I took this cover off. I tapped the sides of the motor and the parts of the shaft just a little bit. I didn't use a whole hell of a lot of force, and it looks like now we should have a motor that will turn. We'll go ahead and get on the mower and see if there's even any fuel in the carburetor to give us a start. And there's no fuel. So, not a huge deal. But I think the next step now is to pull the air filter box off. So here's the dipstick. Oil is at really the proper level, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. But I'm curious to see if we can get this thing to run. I have a decent feeling that it should. So let's give it some starting spray. Let's see what happens. Full choke. Well, that's promising. Sweet. So I just put some gas in her. Put the cap back on the tank. And go ahead and give it a start. I'm definitely happy with that, boys. definitely happy with that. So that means this thing is worth selling to somebody, hopefully. You know, even though the whole front end's kind of dicked, I'm actually curious to see if it'll actually move. So that's the state of this thing. I actually just pounded down that pitman arm with a sledgehammer, just so it would be a little bit easier to move it around. And I just drove it very carefully all the way over there. You guys can see some of the marks in the ground from when the front end of the deck was dragging on the ground there. But it seems to drive okay, so I know the transmission's fine. It just doesn't really steer all that well, just because of how much flop there is in that steering console. So I'd actually just talked to the guy that I was talking about earlier, and he's definitely interested in it. So looks like I've already got a buyer lined up for it, hopefully. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't really get too many of these tractors in to work on. They're one of those things that they can just become money pits just by their inherent nature. And I mean, if you were to go and replace all the tires on one of these, you're looking at probably just under 200 bucks. And that's if you mount the wheels or mount the tires on the wheels yourself. So it's kind of unfortunate, but honestly, it's the nature of the beast with these things. Unless you get one and, as far as the transmission, the frame, and all the other parts besides the motor are concerned are good, then you can make some money on them, provided you have, if you need to do some motor work or even swap another motor on, depending on where you get the other motor, of course. But anyways, boys, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully I can move this thing. You all stay classy.